Good morning to all of you. Whilst today for her empowerment is on behalf of this year's International Women's Day, as you know, we stand by the fact that we are incredible women every day. And I hope on behalf of the Suffragette Life, Suffragette Stockbroker, Suffragette Invest, and Suffragette Finance teams who have worked hard to get a little token to you on Women's Day, that you kind of understand the premise that we are kind of going to be having a chat on today. So Women's Day is not about reminding people that we are women, right? We are women in our own worth, in our own power. We walk in, we can do so much more than we can actually fathom. When the occasion rises, we rise to the occasion so much faster than anybody can, and that strength, it can be as a female corporate leader, a mom, a sister, a daughter, in any format. We have always done the best. But what happens is we always keep ourselves second. We don't think about ourselves. Selflessness is a very, very nice thing to have, but is it at the detriment to yourself is what you have to also think. Put others first by all means, as long as you also remember that you need to educate yourself, grow yourself, love yourself as well. So today's session is about empowering yourself, and with us we have my coach, the coach of all of the HODs at Suffragette Life. It is my privilege to welcome Deshika onto Suffragette Life and the team's training today. I'm going to read some of it out because I was going to just pick things out and just tell you she does this. But when I saw her profile for the first time in my life, I thought it's very important that you guys understand where this wealth of knowledge is coming from. Because when I spoke to her also, she has been through many very difficult life circumstances, and look at her today, right? She's a proud mom, she's a proud professional who has also not just added value in Sri Lanka, but also has kept her mark out of Sri Lanka. So she has over 25 years of experience in HR, including Microsoft Corporation, USA, and Standard Chartered Bank. Sri Lanka, she was the head of human resources for 11 years at Standard Chartered Bank. She's a guest lecturer at several institutes, and she's also, like today, invited to speak at different forums. Deshika holds a BA Honours degree in English and Psychology from the University of Washington, USA, and an MBA from the Australian Institute of Business. She's an associate of the Chartered Institute of Bankers, UK, a chartered member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development in UK, a certified executive and strengths coach, and an accredited practitioner of MBTI and DISC psychometric tools, right? If you know, if you want to, highly recommended that you kind of come to her for an MBTI assessment. I've told her this. An MBTI assessment is like reading yourself on paper, and you actually get to understand your strengths, your weaknesses, and what you're good at, what you're not good at in a much more, how do I say, it's like a blast in your face. You kind of understand why you act the way you act. So if you are really intrigued to find out the female, the leader in you, highly recommended. Changed my life. I'm going to skip one part and come to this part because you need to also understand the strength of what you are getting today. Deshika is the recipient of the 100 Most Influential Global HR Professionals Award and Sri Lanka's Top Women Leaders Award by the World Federation of HR Professionals and the HRD Congress in 2017, and has also won the Women in Management Gold Award for Leadership Excellence in Human Resources in 2015, as well as Sri Lanka's Top Women Leaders Award and the 501 Fabulous Global HR Leaders of the World in 2020. awarded by the World Federation of HR Professionals. So I have a massive list. I'm not going to read all of it, but from the strength of what I read to you right now, you understand who is going to be with us today. So it's very important that, according to Deshika, that we also, don't shy away from owning how brilliant we are, and she is indeed brilliant on paper and in self. It's my privilege to invite Deshika to take over. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies. And good morning to all of you who are watching us virtually. I am so happy to be here. And Kavi, honestly, I'm a little intimidated after all that stuff you said. I also realized something about you. I didn't realize you were such a good presenter. It just flows. So, all right, ladies, I'm really happy to be here. We are going to, how much time? Now it's 10, almost 10:15. Kavi, what time do I need to stop? Okay, all right. So, today, this hour and 15 minutes you're going to spend with me today, I hope is going to have a big impact on your life. This is not a training program. We are going to chat. Okay? I want you to, I have one request, or actually a couple of requests. Can you please turn your phones off? Even those of you who are joining us virtually, I would please ask you to do that, because I can promise you this program will make a difference to your life as women professionals. Second thing is, I want you to interact with me, please. It brings out the better part of me, and I know you're listening, and that's the best way to learn and understand. So if you can I get a thumbs up that you will all interact with me, ladies at the back? Okay. So, to start, okay, I want to tell you a small story. This was a long time ago. I won't tell you how long, because then you'll know how old I am. This was when I was about 12. So I was in boarding school in Colombo because my father was a government servant and he had to work, they are transferred from outstation to outstation. So it was the day before school started. And I was doing my homework on the last day. I don't know, does that sound familiar to any of you? So my father saw me doing this, and no way was I going to get done. No, come on, you want to take a picture? And so he said something to me. He said, someday I'll be dead and gone. You may or may not have a husband, but if you study and if you have a job, you will always be able to stand on your own 2 feet. So when you're 12, this kind of stuff goes over your head, right? But fast forward about 25 years from that, guess what? I was exactly in that position. My dad was dying of a lung disease. He was a medical specialist, so he used to give chemotherapy to patients, and that affected his lungs. My marriage was over. I had 2 young kids to support. And because I had a job, ladies, I was able to do it. It wasn't easy. I had loans, I had maxed out my credit cards, my kids went to international school, so it was expensive. But because I had a job, girls, I could do it. With difficulty, but I was able to do it. So my message to you is, ladies, I know we're going to talk about tough times. It's really a hard battle for us as women, women who are also mothers, who are also wives. It's not easy. It can be done, but don't ever give up what I call your pink slip, meaning you have to have a paycheck. You can't ever, in my case it was a divorce, but it can be a loss of a job, it can be an accident, it can be a separation, it can be anything, right? So even if you decide to leave wherever, whatever you're doing, find something else that will give you an income. Never ever be financially dependent. I have, as an HR professional, so many times I have seen women who sit in front of me and say, Deshika, I can't. Mother is ill, kids are home, husband is overseas, whatever. But if I can convince them to stay, and I try really hard, we give them, this particular story I'm thinking about happened a while ago when having a BlackBerry at that time was a luxury. But we gave her a BlackBerry and a laptop, and she's at Standard Chartered to this day, and she always says, and we gave her some time off and all that. So, important lesson, ladies. Do you agree with me or not? Okay. Get this clicker going. All right, so I think Napoleon Bonaparte, the French general, once said, let her sleep, for when she wakes, sorry, I'm getting too close, when she wakes, she will move mountains. So you want to move mountains, ladies? I wouldn't. Yes. Louder? Yes. Very good. So, is there International Men's Day, girls? 364 days. Did you hear what she said?
364 days of the year is Men's Day.
Actually, I even read an article about that. Why celebrate it if it's celebrated every day? Actually, there is. It's supposed to be November 19th or something. And do you know what they talk about? We have so much to talk about, right? They talk about positive male role models. They talk about birth control for men. Sorry, gentlemen. Things like that. So we have so much to talk about, right? But as women. So do we have a gender gap, girls? What is the male-female ratio here at Soft Logic? Do you know? Like how many men, how many women? So we are the majority. Awesome. Wow, that's fantastic. So, honestly, that's a really, really, really good thing. You must really talk about that. But the rest of the world, all over, it's a problem, right? In Sri Lanka, we have the majority of women, the majority of the population are women, but only a third work, 33%. And out of that third, the majority are garment workers, tea pluckers, and domestic helpers. People like you and I who are working professional women is probably less than 10%. So there are reasons for this. We'll quickly go over them. Who takes care of the family and the dog and everything else, usually? I had a coaching client once who she used to come to work and she used to kind of put her sari on only when she got to work. She had 2 kids, a mother-in-law and some distant relatives staying in the house. She had a helper, but the husband said, "Oage atin karnakota manga asai." So she slept 4 hours a day. The story goes on. So she came to coaching for that. A lot of us don't get the proper skills. A lot of us don't. I went to Virtusa once and I asked them, what is STEM? Did you all know what STEM is? What is STEM? Anyone? So STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So these are the areas that women don't get into. But for the future, these are things we need to think about. Is there gender-based discrimination in workplaces, girls? Yes? No? I see a few nods. A good story that I say all the time is I did some work for a leading hospital. And they wanted me to find a HR head for them, which I did from a very big garment establishment, manufacturing establishment. This guy, within 2 weeks, girls, 2 weeks of joining, there's a young receptionist who used to wear a sari, tiny little thing from Jaffna. She was boarded in Bambalapitiya. He started texting her. So she thought, my God, the head of HR is writing to me. So she responded. This went on. Then he started wanting to meet her. He used to follow her from work. He used to tell her to work late. Sounds familiar, right? And she came to HR to talk about it and was like terrified. Then he started threatening her. Somebody in the HR team called me because I was just doing a bit of work with them. And so I spoke to the group HR head, who was also a man. And he told me, Deshika, මන් දන්නේ නෑ මොකක්ද කියලා. හැබැයි girl බලන විදිය හරි නෑ. I promise, this is the truth. I said, බලන විදිය? නෑ, එයා බලන විදිය හරි නෑ. So can you see these girls? I promise. So this kind of thing happens, right? We have laws to protect us, to prevent discrimination, but I don't think they're practiced. Inflexible work arrangements. From what Kavi tells me, I'm really impressed. You all have a lot of good things. I'm really impressed with the maternity leave cover and the work from home and all that. Keep working on those things, girls, because this is what will enable other women to keep working. Social and cultural norms. Yesterday I did a program for dialogue, similar. Actually more on bias, because it was all people managers. And a young man manager told me, he said, I have 4 men and 1 woman in my team. But he said, I can't give her projects because she says, my boyfriend doesn't like me to do these kinds of things. My mother, even my own mother, who gave up working when she married my father, used to tell me when my kids get sick and all, she used to say, you poor, neglected children. So, social and cultural norms. How any of you take public transport? This is my favorite question. None of you?
I have taken.
Oh, you have taken public transport? Okay. Put your hands up. Thank you. And how many, keep the hands up. How many of you have been harassed on public transport? Keep your hands up. Almost everybody. And you know what, girls? This is my 41st women's empowerment session. I've been doing it for a long time. I ask this question, and it's always the same response. Every one of us has been a victim of sexual harassment. So workplaces, we talked about that. Workplaces must not only have the right policies, it must be conducive for women to work. So there has to be less bias, there has to be more acceptance, there has to be room at the top, all these kinds of things. Because I'll quickly show you a video. Guys, can you show the video? Thank you. Done by the World Bank on Sri Lankan women.
Sri Lanka has achieved great progress in growing its economy and reducing poverty. Yet too many women are left out of the labour market. This is a missed opportunity that has serious consequences for Sri Lanka's continued prosperity. Unless Sri Lanka taps into the potential of women, it will not be able to realise its full economic potential nor support its rapidly ageing population. Sri Lanka's progress in human development has favoured women. More girls are going to school, and fertility rates have fallen. Yet women's labour force participation has remained low and has even declined in recent years. Young women have the highest unemployment rates. In both the public and private sectors, women are paid less than men. This gender wage gap is increasingly determined by discrimination and less so by qualifications. So, why are Sri Lankan women being left out? A new World Bank report points to 3 key reasons. The first is housework, child and elder care. These responsibilities fall disproportionately on women. Second, there is a human capital mismatch. Women are not acquiring the skills that are demanded by the labour market. Third is gender discrimination in hiring and promotion. Women find it harder to enter high-skill and management jobs. Sexual harassment while travelling to work and in the workplace is another deterrent. How can Sri Lanka ensure that women are able to fulfill their potential in the economy? Reduce barriers to women's participation in paid work through safe transportation and childcare services. Also, strengthen girls' early orientation to education and skills that equip them for labor markets. Educational institutions should better prepare and match female students to high-skilled jobs. In addition, ensure gender-equal labor laws and non-discriminatory workplaces through ethical branding and zero tolerance towards sexual harassment. For more information on the issues and policy solutions, read World Bank's report.
Okay, so actually, I had to add something to that video. You know, when I joined Standard Chartered Bank, we had a lot of young women like you, and they get married and they're doing very well, but then the first baby comes. What do you think happens? Come on, girls, talk to me. They stop working. It's impossible to manage, they say. So, you know, one thing we did, I had a really supportive CEO. We started a creche. We just rented a small house. We hired a lady who had done Montessori. And do you know that my female attrition rate dropped, due to having children, dropped to 0. I didn't lose a single woman employee because she had a baby, because we had a creche. People were a little skeptical initially. So that's a really positive thing that actually happened to me. All right, so we are going to now talk about first baby steps. So I'm going to talk a lot about babies and kids and a little bit about cats. So things that are important to me. Kavi, you have seen my cat, Suki? I have spoken about, yeah, so I do talk about my cat. First steps, what it takes to succeed, okay? The first thing, ladies, you have to ask yourself, if your boss were to promote you, transfer you, if you were to go for another job, department change, whatever, what are you going to sell? You know, I see people, I'm an HR person, I see people sitting in front of me and saying, my name is this, and, you know, I come from Chilau and I have 2 brothers. Irrelevant, girls. You have to say what you're good at. And we are all good at something. That's one thing, as a practicing HR professional for 25 years, you may be lousy at your current job, but if I can help you find something you're good at, you'll do really well. I have seen it in practice. So find this thing that makes you special, and you need to be able to talk about it. We'll talk more about that. Now, don't get lost in the crowd. Now, I saw Kavi and, what is your name? Hiroshima telling y'all to come to the front. Why do we never sit in the front, girls? What is the reason? We always leave the front row empty. You can't do that, girls. If you want to get ahead in your career, if you want to be a positive role model for your daughters and even for your husbands or partners to respect you, you need to be sitting in the front. You can't just be an unknown face. This is the boss. Now, who manages the boss? You have to manage the boss, or the boss has to manage you? What do you think? Talk to me. I am going to stop talking if you don't talk. Both ways? 50-50? You know, my ex-husband used to say that the tail can't wag the dog wags the tail. I didn't understand it at the time, but basically, he used to talk in things like that, metaphors. But basically, you have to manage your boss, girls. If you all are lucky, you'll have a good boss who will support you and, you know, all that. I have had really bad bosses and good bosses. So understand your boss. When I was at Standard Chartered, I had a horrible last boss. But I saw how some of my colleagues managed him. So much better than I. He liked airtime. They gave him airtime, you know, meaning he wanted to sit and just kind of talk till the cows come home, which I hate doing. But if that is what it takes, girls, and you need to succeed, at least for while you're working for this man or woman, you have to do that. Understand your boss. What makes him or her tick? It's up to you. Know when to quit. This is important, girls. I know most of us need jobs. But nothing is worth, you're getting up in the morning and thinking, I really can't go to work. It has happened to me. My hair started falling off. There are options, right? Always in life, maybe not easy options, but there are options. So ask for a transfer, get out of that place. Once you know it's time to quit, you have to try, right? But then you need to quit. Don't just hang in there. Sheryl Sandberg, CEO of Facebook, said this. She said, careers are not ladders, they're jungle gyms. What does that mean? Tell me. What do you think that means? Anyone wants to volunteer? Do we have a mic for the... Okay, thank you. Anyone? Come, now I need to hear you all talking. Remember, you have to sit in the front, not the back. What does it mean by saying careers are not... you say career ladder, like climb the corporate career ladder. But she says it's a jungle gym. Do you all know, is that a very American phrase to say jungle gym? Nagineva, that's like a... you get like squares and kids climb. Anyone wants to volunteer what that means, or no one really knows? Yes, hi. Couldn't recognize it. Sorry, what did you say?
It's like a hard struggle.
Yes, it is a hard struggle. And also, I think what she means is you don't always have to be going up. You may be offered a sideways step, or even a small step back, down, but it's what eventually will lead to you becoming a better professional. So don't always say, I can't take that job because it's the same level. Or actually, I have less people who I'll manage or something. So don't always think of your career as a step up. Rules of the game. What I mean by this is every company has its own culture, what works, what doesn't. So you need to understand your organization. Talk to people like Kavi and Deshika and ask how did they get to where they are. Understand the culture, very important. And this last thing is something I have recently learned, but I will keep you in suspense. It's called Ikigai, and I think it's a secret, which I'll share with you, but I'll save that for the end. So, how many of you here aspire to being in the top level, be a VP, be on the board? How many? You don't have to, but I want to know how many. Ten. Okay. And you know what? It's completely okay to not want to, but some of the girls who didn't put their hands up, can I ask why? Some towards the back. Not Nilu, but she put her hand up, thank you. No, but she wants to go higher. Ladies, who are the ones who didn't put their hands up? Why not? Oh, see, you're not talking to me. Yeah, it's interesting, but okay, so everything I'm telling you today is not from a textbook. It's stuff that has happened to me, I've seen happening, or things that I have learned. As women, you have to work harder than the men. Do you agree? You have to work your tail off if you want to get to the top. Kavi, do you think you had to work your tail off? Nilu? Unfortunately, we're going to talk about bias. That is a requirement. I can't hear you. Girls, y'all are not talking even though we are in a fairly safe space. There's no sort of buddy judging you here. You have to speak. Even if you're shy, even if you're an introvert, just even ask a question. If you don't, you are not going to be heard and therefore not seen. One-sided decision-making is something I am also guilty of. We tend to think more from the right side of our brains or the emotional side of our brains. But our male colleagues do not, right? They are more logical. So when you have to make a decision, if you're making a project plan or a pitch or whatever it is you're doing, make sure that it's logical, it's fact-based, it's strategic. Don't only go in there and say, Ane, but it's a nice thing to do. No? That kind of thing won't work if you want to get into the top levels. The harmony. Now, this is something I am also guilty of. I like peace. I like people to not fight. It actually stresses me out when I hear people arguing, even if it's not, anything personal. So when I was at Stanchart, I had all women in my team for a while. It was lovely. They were all clean, and we baked cookies for each other. But do you think that was the best thing? No. Why not? Smart lady in the white shirt. Why do you think it's not healthy?
Because it doesn't give you perspective onto the other side. You're just...
Spot on, exactly. It doesn't give you perspective on what other people think and different points of view and all that. So avoid that. Motherhood statements. Anyone knows what that is? What? Go on. Huh? Yeah, but more like these soft things like saying, Ane, pow, let's wait and see. But, we had to be a little, like not being very concrete, not being fact-based, not being logical. I'm not saying not to use that part, but it has to be always balanced. Yeah? Gossip. Now, everybody likes to gossip, right? But one of my former bosses once told me, a secret is not a secret if you tell one person. Girls, I know heads of HR who have been fired for not keeping their mouths shut. Gossip, you can gossip outside of work, but you cannot gossip at work. It's a no, even if it's the tastiest piece of gossip that somebody is doing something with somebody else or something. No place for it. It can kill you. Trust me, I have seen it happening. You know something, you keep it to yourself. Write it on a colle if you really have to get it out of your system. What is getting your ducks in a row? What do you think? I know I have used all these funny phrases, but it's so that I can talk about something. What does getting your ducks in a row mean? So, how many of you who don't know me Googled me to see who this Kavi has brought in here to talk to us? Is it worth my time, Kiela? Anybody Googled? I won't be insulted. I know the answer, so. Nobody. So you know what, girls? If there were men in the audience, I can promise you they would have. I have done this. I have asked this before. It's an experiment. Men go into meetings, they go into presentations, they go into pitch sessions or whatever it is, better prepared than we do in general. They would have checked, even if it's just to check what kind of a woman is this. But they would go to LinkedIn or go to Google and check. So point here is, girls, when you go into a meeting, go over-prepared rather than under-prepared. That's a failing we have. We tend to think we can wing it. Cannot do that. SLB. Anyone knows what an SLB is? Okay, we will talk about bias. It's a kind of bias. We'll talk about that later. The most important piece of this slide is, girls, we live in a very nuanced, very male-dominated work culture. How you dress, how you talk, how you behave matters. Do you agree? So, and again, I have seen many cases where women, your reputation is completely gone. Who have had affairs with their bosses, done things they shouldn't have done. If you want to be successful, you have to be ultra vigilant about how you are. How you dress, how you talk, how you behave. Like, for instance, I can't drink much. When I do, I talk too much. So when I was at Standard Chartered, I would never go out with my colleagues after work, which probably I should have as an HR person. On the few times I went, I didn't drink because it could have had bad results, So And that's a bit extreme. But I also get headaches, and I had 2 children waiting for me, so that was another reason. But you have to be a professional. I know people who have done things like what I'm telling you not to do, and that reputation, it's a small place, right, Colombo? It lives forever. You can never overcome it. So these are some of the things I think you need to do if you really want to get to the top. Even if you don't want to get to the top, but you want to be really good at what you do, you need to follow these. Okay? Any questions? Oh, everything is crystal clear. Okay, I said I'm going to talk about my cat. So there is this thing that women must be seen a certain way and men must be a certain way. Women must be soft and caring and warm and compassionate. Men should be tough and aggressive. Right? Right or wrong? So I'm here to tell you, you know what? You can be soft. Because the story here is at Stanchart, we won this big diversity, equity and inclusion award. And Sri Lanka is a small country compared to the rest of the Standard Chartered network. So I walk into this management committee meeting expecting everyone to give me a standing ovation or something. And my CEO kind of dismisses it and says, yeah, you won that award. No, it's just a fluffy thing. So after that, I started talking about fluffy. I'm telling you, being soft and being nice and being warm and being compassionate is good. It can actually help you save an employee. I'm sure you've employees who want to leave sometimes stay because their boss is like that. I have been, I can go on and on, but basically point here is it's okay to be nice. It's okay to be soft. But remember what I told you earlier, you have to use both sides of your brain. You can't only be soft. So that's Suki, and she's actually my cat. Yeah, she has that kind of expression. She's a bit of an introverted cat. All right, now this is an important thing that Kavi also told me I needed to talk to you all about. I made up this word. I know it's not really lipstick, but I thought you can remember it. Your brand. Now those of you who are brand experts here will probably have more to add. But each of those 7 letters stand for something. Your brand, girls, is important. Even if you're not a senior person, you have to start building your brand. This is so important. I was really bad at this. And so a lot of what I'm telling you are things that I didn't do and wish I had done more of when I was younger. First is earn loyalty. Loyalty as in you must have people who are willing to vouch for you. Have a network. Know people who know people. So that people, if someone meets you, they say, oh, I know who you are. Somebody told me about you. I saw your LinkedIn profile. I saw you saying something on Facebook or Instagram, whatever. So build a network. So that's the L in my lipstick word. I is invest in yourself. I met a young CEO once who put aside 10% of his annual income every year he was a man, to develop himself. So I try to spend a little bit of money, even if it's not money, you can go on like Coursera and all and find courses, LinkedIn Learning. Do something for yourself. Invest in yourself. Very important. Promote yourself. How many of you have LinkedIn profiles? Show of hands? Okay, good. Almost everyone. But promote. Don't just have the profile. That's what I used to do. If you find a nice article, share it. If you have a picture of something that's happening, share it. Slowly build your brand. Promises, that's the second P. If you are the sort of person who makes promises and doesn't live up to them, what will happen? Yeah, what? No one will trust you. Your integrity. So very, very important. Elevator pitch. I've worked with certain people on this. You need to say, who is the most senior person at SoftLogic? Ashok Pathirali. So say you're in the elevator and you meet Ashok. He doesn't know who on earth you are. How are you going to introduce yourself between the 16th floor and the ground floor? Have you thought about that? You need to do that, girls. You need to work on how you're... And you'll think, okay, I can wing it. But no, you have to say something that will truly make an impact. He's going to say, oh, you know what? I met that girl. She's quite interesting. Or she seems to be doing a lot of work. These are things, girls, now I don't want you to forget about these things after we leave. These are things for you. Kavi has arranged this program so you can improve yourself as a woman. So if there are things here that you think you need to do, you need to go back and do it. It's for you, nobody else. Oscar Wilde once said, be yourself because everyone is already taken. You think that's true? If I came here and I admire Michelle Obama, and if I came here and talked like her, full of passion and all that, you will know, my God, she's trying to be something she's not, right? So you have to be yourself. Don't be shy. We all have things that we can be know what you're good at, girls. When you know what you're good at, you can flaunt it. And you can downplay the things you're not so good at. Communicate. Keep talking, not just about yourself. Keep talking to other people. Keep talking to people who can help you. Okay? Any questions? So let's quickly do a check. Okay. Oops. First L. Thank you. Second L. Yes. First P. Huh? Promote. Second P? Yes, very good. They're all listening. S. Story. Yeah, your elevator pitch. Think of Ashok. Sorry, oh, no. What was T? What was T? Yeah, and C? Very good. That's smart lot of women you are. I couldn't. It took me a long time to come up with this. So, in summary, quickly, your brand matters, right? Because that tells who you are. It also creates a message about what you stand for. Think about and be consistent. That's another thing, girls. You can't have one brand today and another brand in another year. So you had to be consistent. So think about it. This guy called Will Durant, who I really like because he's a philosopher and a psychologist, I think, he says excellence is a habit. So say you want to be a better public speaker, I'm just saying, right, or something. You keep doing it, you will become better and better and better. See, I was the most nervous public speaker. I used to sweat, and I don't sweat very much normally. But by doing it and doing it and doing it, I'm a little better now. I still get a bit nervous. Kavi knows I went to the toilet twice in 10 minutes, but it gets better. So, now I'm going to stop talking. I want you to think and throw out to me one word that describes you. One word. One word. Okay, let's see who is brave enough to volunteer first. Kavi, I'm not asking you right away. One word to describe you. Come, all have to respond. Quick. Otherwise, we are eating into our time. One word. One word. Thank you. Gift. Yes. Awesome. There's a gift. Oh, okay, good.
Determination.
Awesome. Pass the mic around. Who else? One word to describe you.
Rebel.
Rebel. Okay. Yeah, the earrings kind of give you away. Okay.
Passionate.
Passionate. That's a good one.
Fast.
Fast. Good. I like that. Yes. Quickly, quickly, quickly.
Accepting challenges.
Willing to take up a challenge. Okay. Some are looking down, so we won't pass the mic to the yes.
Smart.
Smart, like that. If you're not ready, pass the mic on because we don't have time. Huh?
Happy.
Happy, I like that. That's a really good one.
Loyal.
Loyal, good. Yes, Miss
Bold.
Photographer. Bold.
Strong.
Hmm?
Strong.
Strong. Okay, we have a couple of strong women.
Smart.
Smart.
Happy.
Happy. Two happy ladies. One word that really describes you, okay?
Committed.
Huh?
Committed.
Committed. Honest.
Bright.
Bright. Okay, as in smart, bright, happy, bright, or generally bright. Okay.
Dedicated.
Hmm?
Dedicated.
Dedicated, okay.
Creative.
Creative.
Efficiency.
Efficient. Huh?
Diligent.
Diligent. All right, good word.
Bubbly.
Bubbly. You look like a bubbly.
Hard worker.
Hardworking.
Passionate.
Passionate. Pass it down. Last but not least.
Loud.
I want these two ladies to speak also. Independent. Fearless. Awesome. So remember your word. I want you to do something. Take a post-it, write your word. I don't know about, even loud is good. I mean, that's who you are, right? You don't have to be shy. This is what we are. And stick it on top of your PC, your computer, wherever it is that you will see it all the time. Can you do that? Thank you. Okay, quickly moving on. This is, how many of you here are moms? You're a mom. Only 3 mothers? Okay, so I'm going to make, Very young bunch, yes. So this is a dilemma for the 3 of you and me. You know, when you have to try to balance, right? So, but someone once said, this talk show host called Barbara Walters, you can be 2 of the 3, but never all 3. You think it's possible? Wife, mother, and working woman? Who are the other 2 moms? Okay. Is it possible to be all 3, you think? Yeah, I think you can. Few things I have learned. You can't be perfect, girls. I have missed lunches, forgot to put the uniform or the costume. But I think my children will say I was okay. You can't be perfect. You will mess up. Ask for help. Also very important, girls, you have to find time for you. I only had a small window between when school drop off and work, and that was the time I went to the gym, because that was important to me. It was a very half-hearted workout, but at least I went. So find time for yourself. It's a hard act, but and very important. My daughter calls me a Uber planner. I plan and plan and plan. Even if you're not a planner by nature, to be a mom, you have to do this balancing thing and be a superwoman. You have to plan. I had exam timetables, daily schedules, everything on Excel spreadsheets. The kids used to put the colors in. So, okay, this is an important part of this talk. I have done this presentation many times. And every time somebody comes to me with a story that completely kind of blows me away. Every woman has a story. That much I know. And you know what? We are strong. We are stronger than we look. We are not always fluffy and soft. I don't know, a few things, some of you have heard me saying the most sort of, well, I have heard a couple other stories, but one story that really strikes me, and I did this same slide, showed this same slide, was a very senior CFO lady. She was in black and white, and she walked out when I was talking about this. I thought, my gosh, she's bored, you know. And then later she was walking with me, she had a wedding ring, so I asked her, do you have kids? And she said, I had 2 daughters. I just waited. And then she said, last year, My 9-year-old daughter was at sports practice on a Saturday. I quote, word for word, I still get goosebumps saying it. The next Saturday, she was a corpse in my house. Think about that. And you know what, though, this story has a okay ending. She grieves intensely. I don't think you ever get over losing a child, right? But she has now, she was sent for coaching and all that to me. She started a women's support group at her company. It's a big tea exporter. And she tells people, if I can do this, you can do it. If you can lose a child and survive and still work. So this support group supports it, and she's doing it in memory or to celebrate her 9-year-old daughter's life. So women can do it, girls. We are very tough. And as Maya Angelou says, like moons and suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. So I know we will, right? What does this mean? I really don't, is it allyship or allyship? I really don't know how you pronounce it. Anyone knows? Allyship. There should be an E, you think, before the Y. Okay. So what is male allyship? Girls, if you want to succeed, if you want to break bias, if you want to be gender equal, we have to have guys who will support us. This is not something we can do alone. Find like-minded, open-minded, broad-minded men who will support. Very important. We can't do this alone. Okay. Look at this slide for a second. What do you see? Okay, quickly. Okay, come tell me, what is it we see here? Yeah, thank you. So, guys, now I want to put a little experiment. I want only the ladies in the back 4 rows to talk, okay? Can? Because we need to hear you. Yeah, so there is a huge gap. There is this woman that I really like. If you want to follow her, she's called Sally Krawcheck. She used to work for Citico in New York. She claims that she was fired by 2 Wall Street investment banks because she was a woman. She's a real kick-ass lady. She says we'll never be equal to men if we are not financially equal. Think about that. And we are really bad at investing and being financially kind of savvy and prudent. I am really bad. When I got divorced at 38, that's when I had to start thinking about saving money and all that. So you need to do that. If you don't know, talk to a financial advisor. The way women advise, the way women invest and men invest is different. Am I right, Nilu, in saying that? So you need to... Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's why I asked. So, you have to invest wisely. Start, even if it's a small amount, start investing. Oh, another thing, girls, I have to tell you, it's not strictly investment related, but my former CEO used to say, it's quite crude, but he used to say, the baby who cries loudest gets the milk first. So this lady, Sally Krawcheck, says how if you have 2 employees, right, and one is asking and say, next increment I want a bonus, I want this, I want X amount of increment, and the other doesn't. The one who usually talks about increment would be a man, yeah. The woman tends to wait and hope. So who do you think, if the bonus pool is say, I don't know, 100,000, who do you think will get 60 and who do you think will get 40? Yeah. So you need to ask, you need to state your expectations and say why. Don't be emotional and cry and say, I need to build a house. Say, I have performed, this is what I've done, therefore, give me X or Y. Okay, this is a slide I actually used to not talk about because as a divorced female, I didn't know whether I was qualified to say this. What do you think is the H factor? I gave you a clue. H factor. I made it up, but what do you think? Come on, take a guess, girls. Height? Heels? Ah, she's wearing heels, so take a dirty looking shoes. No. Huh? Exactly. What's your name? Upeksha. Well done. Yeah, there's this woman that I follow called Aviva Wittenberg. She's a diversity expert. And she says, if you can't find a spouse, and I'm saying partner, anyone, who supports your career, stay single. Strong statement. Oh, thank you. I will not say any more about this because frankly, I don't think I'm that qualified in this department because I was married for only 17 years, which is, I suppose, long enough, but anyway. Okay, I have to talk about this. These are my kids. I used to only have the daughter, and then I thought it was really unfair to not have the son. This is the daughter, that's the son. So when my daughter, see, what I didn't also tell you when I introduced myself, I am first a mother, more than anything else. That's my leadership style. People have kind of criticized me for being maternal in my leadership style, and I thought about it. My CEO actually said, oh, very maternal. I thought about it, I thought, you know what, I may be maternal, but I'm winning awards, I'm meeting all my KPIs. So I started saying, my name is this, and my leadership style is maternal. You know, and it works for me. So you need to see what it is that you are good at. My daughter, my proudest achievements are my two children. She went to Harvard on a full scholarship, and my son went to Duke. So when they were young, like, I don't know, I can't remember, like 10 and 8 or something, I read a story about a mother who was packing away all her child's things. And she had kept having this one thought in her head, and that was that, you know, as moms, those of you who are moms will relate, we teach our children, we give them the skills to fly away from us. You know, all of us are a mother's child, right? So it was a beautifully written story. I was quite sad. And so when I told the kids about it, they laughed and said, oh, mummy's getting all sissy. And fast forward, I don't know, 6-7 years, my daughter goes off to Harvard. And she comes back for Christmas, her first break back. And she brings this thing in the middle. And she has actually gone to one of these old printing presses at Harvard. She made this thing, the bird, and at the back of it, it said, thank you, Mommy, for giving me wings to fly. So she remembered. So, girls, the reason I'm telling you this story is we have an obligation. Those of us who are moms, how we raise our kids. Teach your sons to be open and accepting, that you are working mothers, that they should have respect. And teach your daughters to be strong women. They can do anything. Don't limit them to pink and dolls and, you know, Cinderella. Okay, you need a 10-minute, 5-minute break, or we can go on. I think we only have 20 minutes. Seriously? Okay, then shall we skip the break? Yes. All right, good. Okay, quickly we need to talk about bias because that's the theme for this year. Anyone knows what unconscious bias is? Yeah. If anyone wants a toilet break, you can go. What is unconscious bias? Anyone knows? Nope. Okay, good. You know, if you see a tiger or a lion, say you're going out walking, what will you do? If you see a lion, what will you do? Okay, ladies at the back. If you see a lion, you will talk. Lady in black in front of Nilu. What will you do if you see a lion, honey? Run away. Now, is that a thought conscious response, or is it something you just do without thinking? Yeah. So that's an unconscious bias. An unconscious bias is not necessarily a bad thing. It's an instinct to survive. But we have unconscious biases that are actually very harmful for ourselves and others. There's a lot that we as women have to face, unconscious biases. What causes unconscious biases? What do you think? Where do we get these from? The lion, maybe it's an instinct, right? Or maybe we watched Lion King when we were small. But these come from where? Why do we think a certain way? Experiences. No, stop talking, girls. Back. What causes unconscious bias? Come on, girls. You have to talk. See, only these ladies are talking. What do you think? What causes people to have certain attitudes? Come on, girls, you have to learn to talk. Okay, so yeah, it's society, it's parents, it's teachers, it's school, it's religion, I don't know, lots of things, right? So Harvard experts did this study called, and you can, if you're interested, you can actually take it. I think it's free. It's called the implicit association test. And they found so many interesting things. They took a random sample of people from different parts of the world, men, women, different colors, religions, everything. 76% of the participants associated men with career and women with home. Even women. So these are not only biases that men have. 75% of the participants preferred white people to black people. Even true for half of the black participants. Other interesting things like bald men make more money than men with hair. 58, almost 60% of S&P 500 companies in the United States, the male CEOs, get these girls, are over 6 feet tall. You think it's a coincidence? Almost 60%? It's a biases, right? Blonde women, thin people tend to make more money. There's a huge thing called beauty bias. People like good-looking people over people who are not so good-looking. Are these fair, girls? Why should tall men become CEOs and not short men? Why should bald men get more money? So bias exists. That's what I'm trying to say. There are lots of biases that we as women face. So let's quickly go through some of them. Performance bias. What do you think that means? Talk to me. What is a performance bias? Guess. What do you think a performance bias is? Exactly. Well done, Kavi. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. We think men are better at certain things. And you know what? A lot of us ladies think this too. So it's a very deep-rooted kind of bias where we think women can't do certain things as well. We think, now I think you're addressing some of this, right? That's our logic. So this is a big problem. And you know what happens as a result? We, women, remember I told you had to work hard? You had to work harder than the men? So we have to work harder. But it's not fair. It's not how it should be. Another thing is, now when you apply for a job, girls, what do you apply if you don't meet all the criteria? You would apply only if you meet all the criteria. Do you know men in general will apply even if they just meet 60%, little over average of the criteria. We want to achieve 100%. When my kids were in school, my daughter would make one mistake and say, "Mommy, the exam was a disaster." My son would say, "I got about 4 out of 10 right, Mama. So there is others in the class also were like that, so it's good." So can you see? But they think, the difference is he thinks he can succeed even with 4 out of 10. Tamara, my daughter thinks 9 out of 10 is a disaster. Next bias is called attribution bias. This is also closely linked to performance bias. And this is where we actually see women as less competent than men. The other one is where we judge their performance. Here is how we actually perceive them. And so therefore, we don't recognize them for the work they do. We blame them more often for mistakes. What do you think this does to a woman? If you constantly blame her, you don't give her enough credit. Yeah, she thinks she's not good enough. She doesn't have enough confidence. She is not empowered enough. So very important thing for men also to know, and for us, is if you have women on your team, give them proper feedback. A lot of people think, oh, she's a woman, so I have to be softer. No, we need analytical, logical, objective feedback as much as any other person. Next one is called likability bias. And that is where we tend to be biased towards people who are likable. And we as women try very hard to be liked, right? I have a huge problem with this. I like to be liked. And here this is like a double-edged sword for women, because if you want to succeed, you have to be tough. I'm asking you to speak up, ladies at the back, right? But if you're constantly speaking, someone might say, oh my God, she's so bossy, or the other bad B word, right? Yeah, exactly. So for a woman, it's tough. On the one hand, there is pressure on you to be liked. On the other hand, if you're a little assertive and a little bossy, you're called a B word. So that is likability. The other one is maternal bias. You all know what maternal bias is, right? You recruit a woman, you think, oh my God, she might go on maternity leave, problem. Even we women think this. I do gender sensitivity programs, and I did it for a local bank, big one. And the head of HR actually, who's a mom, she spoke up and she said, I'm guilty of this. I look for people and then I think, oh, she's just got married 9 months, she might be off. Maternal bias. We tend to not give new mothers certain assignments, certain projects we think they can't manage. That's maternal bias. And then there's this thing called affinity bias. Affinity bias is we like people who have the same kind of beliefs. When I joined beliefs, religion, maybe even look like us. When I joined Standard Chartered in 2007, I found that most people had gone to Colombo schools, and most of the men were cricketers at some point. You think that's an affinity bias? Yeah. So these are some of the biases we think about. The last time you hired someone. Why did you hire them, other than their qualification? Okay, quickly shout at me. What are these biases? We gravitate towards people who are like us. Yes, louder. We see women as less competent than men, and we give them less credit. Performance. And another one I said was like performance, where we attribute. Yeah, it's okay. Rooted in expectations, men should be more assertive and women kind and warm and fuzzy. Yeah, likability. Motherhood triggers false assumptions about a woman's performance. Yes. And deep-rooted and incorrect assumptions about a woman's and man's abilities. Yeah. Very good, guys, y'all are listening. Okay, few other types of biases, I'm not going to go into them, but age-related biases, too young or too old, racial bias, lots of it right now, beauty bias. Confirmation bias is where you look for people who affirm what we are saying, who are saying yes men. Halo effect, somebody can never do anything wrong and some people can never do anything right. Weight bias, name bias. Name bias, in England they did a study, they found that a lot of people were very much biased against people who have accents, 67%. All right, ladies, so that's about bias. Quickly about why we should address biases, or how we should address bias. You have to address bias, girls. Why I did all this and did a quiz and everything is you need to be able to talk about this. If you see someone saying, this person is going to go on maternity leave soon, call it out. If you don't call it out, it's going to continue. You need to form groups that address these things, put procedures in place that will prevent biases happening, talk about it, and also doing programs like this where you actually create awareness about bias. Yeah, so very important. So now we're going to talk about, we'll quickly say, what happens when you address bias? Actually, let me ask you this. Why should you address bias, in your views? Why is bias, why is it the International Women's Day theme? Why is it so important? Okay, back row. Other than Nilu. Why is it important to address bias? Come on, girls, please talk. I have to learn to do this. Or shall I randomly pick? Okay, we'll give it to the lady in the striped shirt. Looks very pretty with there, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth row corner. Sorry, yeah, you. Why should we address bias? If you don't talk, I'm going to pick. Sorry, I'm tough like that.
Because if you don't talk about it, you can't bring in a change. You can't address the problems.
Brilliant. Now, why didn't you say that? That's amazing, and you articulated yourself so well. That's excellent. What's your name?
I'm Shanil.
Shanil, thank you. That's excellent. Yeah, you need to address bias for those reasons. Can I see my slide? Yeah, it impacts how we work, decision making. You can make relatively unbiased decisions. We all talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And we talk about numbers. Now, Soft Logic has very good diversity numbers. Bias addresses not diversity especially, it addresses inclusion. Just because you have men and women doesn't mean that these women feel included or that there's equity, that they're treated fairly. So these things are important. We benefit, right, by having people who are different. If you want Soft Logic to go into the future, to be a company that is sustainable, it's not just the right thing to do to address bias, it's also the smart thing to do. And of course, like Melinda Gates said, we all rise when women rise. So this is important, but now we're going to talk about something that's even more important, which is, remember I asked you what SLB was? How many of you have sometimes said, I'm not really good at this. I'm not a good mother. I am too fat. I am not pretty enough. I see hands, thank you. What else? I'm not good at math. I can't do public speaking. My hair is horrible. Yeah, these are self-limiting biases. And girls, more than anything else, we are living in a highly biased world, no doubt. But your biases are what will hold you back. Huh? Insecurities, yeah. They say you can be your own worst enemy or your own best friend. So, very important that we address these, There are stereotypes about ourselves. Sometimes people tell us this. You have parents who keep telling daughters how to be, or boyfriends who keep telling us what we are, what we are not. So these things affect us. We miss out on a lot, due to our own biases. So I do mostly coaching now, and I never knew that I could, until someone told me I could. But maybe I had a bias that was holding me back. I constantly questioned whether I was being a good mother, because I was told by my own mother, your poor children are just suffering with fever and all, and you're at work. You have to fight your SLBs. Know yourself. If you had more time, I would have actually told you all to go off for 5 minutes and identify what your own biases are. your self-limiting biases. What is holding you back? When you have a tough thing and you think, okay, you know what, I can't, I'm not good at this. Try to remove the fact that you're a woman out of that equation. Try to focus on what you're actually good at. You might find that you have to consciously do this. How do we learn the most, girls? It's when you step out of your comfort zone, right? Not when you're in it. There's a super TED Talk. It's the most watched TED Talk, most watched TED Talk in the world by this professor called Amy Cudley, a Harvard Business School professor, called Body, what is it? I think it's Fake It Till You Make It. Yeah, I think it's about body language. And so, yeah, exactly. Thank you. You keep faking it, you'll make it, like me and public speak. Join support networks. Form one here. At Standard Chartered, I started something called W3, which stood for Women Win Network. I have a women's group called Tara. You're welcome to join, which is free, and we basically support and uplift each other. I said this already. So identify your own biases, girls, very important. And you know who this actress is. I want you to watch this. It'll just take a minute. My video, please.
I'm worth it. It feels pretty good to say that. I'm worth it. It's magic, that phrase. And I'm sure you're probably thinking, well, that's easy for her to say. She's been sat in hair and makeup for hours to look like that.
Volume.
Of course she feels worth it. Because beauty can feel like a superpower, right? But this has to come off at some point. So the tricky part, the really tricky part for all of us, is knowing how to feel worth it without any of this. Because let's be honest, I really don't look like this all the time. I mean, who does? So then is what's left worth it? When we're younger, we often think that worth is all about our face or our body shape or how much attention we get or how popular we are or how many likes you get compared to your friends. But it's not about any of that. I'm worth it is about owning your right to be you, to stand in your truth with your body, your skin, and your face, which is going to change as the years pass. That's just a fact. But feeling brave enough to believe that you are worth it is something we can all help each other to do. And it's easier said than done. We've all got things that we criticize in ourselves and that we sometimes want to change or compare to others, our scars and imperfections and our differences. But all of those things make us exactly who we are. And perhaps as we all walk through the world, we can show up for each other without judgment, whatever our differences and however you identify, because in unity and with acceptance, we can be greater together. So let's lean on one another, celebrate each other, and know that with or without the makeup, being you, being authentically you, is all that matters. And that's worth it. So look in the mirror, however you are right now, whatever your hang-ups or your goals might be, put them aside for 1 second and let's try this together. Take a moment. I'm worth it. Say it again. I'm worth it. Because you are.
Did you like that? I thought it was amazing, and look at how she looks now. Okay, so we are almost at the end. My slides, please. Not now, when I show the last video. Okay, what is this fellow that you can see? A bee. Okay, a queen bee, very good. Ladies at the back, do you think so? Because I'm only relating to my ladies in the front. Yes? Thank you. This way I make sure now next time I will pick one of you to ask. So there is this thing called the queen bee syndrome. And I have seen this happening in my working life many times. What does a queen bee do? She sits in the middle of the beehive and does what? She has babies. She doesn't let anyone else become a queen bee, right? Everybody else is a worker bee. This is actually a syndrome that 3 men discovered in 1971, where there are some of us, I'm not saying we are all queen bees, we get to the top and we don't want anyone else to get to the top. I have seen it in practice. So, why am I saying this, girls? We have to do this together. We have to, when you're on your journey going up, you have to pull others with you. Like the reason why Kavi is doing this program, so that we all rise. So you must remember this, don't be a queen bee. If you know a queen bee, go and tell her, oh, I learned something called a queen bee syndrome and I think you have that. She might sting you. So yeah, when you lift a woman up, she can change the whole world around you. So how can we support each other quickly? Talk about your story, girls. I know you all have a story. It's okay to share it. You can decide which parts you want to leave out. Be open and honest. Support other women's businesses, hobbies, enterprises. Celebrate their victories. Why is it that we find it so hard to compliment somebody else? Is it because if I say you look nice, I look less nice? Think about that. Start networks, connect with others. There may be women who need you just to say hi, especially these days, people like to be, I'm bad at this calling and saying hello. Meet up, it's good for you. Just half an hour for coffee. Do things like that. Find a coach, a mentor, a supporter, someone who will help you when you need help. Check in on people. Invite them to whatever you are doing. Be inclusive. Together we can stop traffic. Do you like that? I thought that was a nice quote. All right, what does this slide mean? Okay, easy one for ladies at the back. Before I pick, somebody tell me, why have I put this funny face up? Ladies in the back. Come on, talk. කතා කරන්නම බැරි lot එකක්. Okay, lady in the orange shirt, you're smiling. Why have I put this up? Exactly, well done. So we have to be happy, girls. Happiness matters. Somebody once, a very uneducated lady once told me, if the mother in the home is not happy, nobody else will be happy. There are ways to be happy. There's a lot of studies being done on happiness. I find balance is a big part. Find time to do something for yourself, even if it's reading a book for 15 minutes in the night. Having people who support you. I also try to avoid, this is my own thing, I try to avoid negative people because they pull me down. Being fit. You don't have to be thin, but you have to be fit. Eating right, sleeping enough. Trust me, I'm bad at a lot of these things. I really don't sleep enough. So things like that, yeah. New trends that are happening in the world. You know all this, so I'm not really going into these. We are looking for talent, not just in Sri Lanka, but all over the world. So you need to really up your game. It's a blended workforce. It's not, everybody is not going to be a full-time employee. You will have contract employees and remote employees and half-time employees. If you talk to any Gen Z, someone born after 1996, they will say their quality of life matters more than their paycheck. Social learning, you don't have to go to university for degrees. You can do things through people and online. It's okay to be a CEO at 20. I have a young coaching client. He was my son's classmate, and he set up his own company at 16, and he's very successful. He has about 150 people working for him. Now he's 23. Compliance, the world is moving more and more and more towards that. You will be judged more on your competencies than anything else. People will get hired based on their competencies more than qualifications. I'm saying in the future. I don't think we are there yet. And we live in uncertain times. COVID hit, now we have local issues. So it's going to become more and more uncertain. So these are some things we have to think about. Okay, we're almost done. Not quite yet, yeah. So everyone has last words, right? Oprah has them, Michelle Obama has them, I don't know, even Priyanka Chopra has 10 words for success. So I don't have so much success or wisdom, but I just kind of summarize what we've been talking about. Remember, professionalism, very important. Find someone who will have your back, who will support you, guide you, coach you. I have a mentor, it's a man. I've been talking to him for over 20 years. And whenever I have a big decision, I go to him. He's a much older guy. But I know he'll give me unbiased feedback. You know, he'll really tell me, you're not good at this, Deshika, don't go there. Or you're not charging enough, or whatever, you know. Get involved, girls. Girls in the back especially, don't think, if you have career aspirations, you can't be sitting comfortably in your chair and expecting things to just happen. This is where your frustration will come, when your boss doesn't promote you or give you a bonus or increment, because you have not spoken up. I'm not worried about the girls in front. You sat at the back and you didn't talk. You have to change that. Data and technology, I'm sure you all have this. You can't say, I don't know how to use this or that. Constantly sharpen your saw. Remember what Stephen Covey said? You have to be on top of your game, girls. You have to be better than everybody else. No other way to do this. When I say brand, what's the word I taught y'all? Thank you. Balance, very important. You can't succeed unless you have balance in your life. Do this together, girls. Yeah, there is enough space at the top for all of us, and we can only do this if we support each other. Be yourself. Don't try to be what you're not. What have I missed? Yeah, I didn't talk about Ikigai, but what have I told you that I have missed? 2 things actually. Be happy is one, and address your self-limiting biases. Very important. That's your homework. Okay, here's another piece of homework. When you go home, or when you have some quiet time, this is something I want you to do for yourself. Identify your big, hairy, audacious goal. Ask yourself, what is it that I can do that will really be aspirational? It can be money, it can be a professional goal, it can be for, I don't know, maybe play the piano, or I don't know, but something that's really difficult. You need to identify something and start working towards it. This, you owe it to yourself, and I'm telling you, unless you think and plan, it won't happen. And so this is Ikigai, my secret. I used to use a slightly different model by Jim Collins from his book, Good to Great, which I think, Kavi, I may have shared with you, right? So this is an extension of that. I don't know which came first. So to come up with this big, hairy, audacious goal, I want you to think about this Ikigai. It's a Japanese concept that talks about why are we here? Your reason for living, your reason for being on this earth. It talks about 4 areas to identify. What is it that you're really good at? People come and tell you, you know, Kavi, you're really good at this. But it has to also be something that you're good at that you love to do. Now, I'm fairly good at playing piano, and I like playing piano, but I can't really make money. So that's the third dimension. What can you get paid for? I don't really like to teach. So it can't be playing piano, can't be my ikigai. And then, what is the thing that, so it has to meet all four areas, that you can also do to help or make the world a better place, that you get paid for, that you're good at, and something you love. For me, it was coaching, and it took me a long time to figure it out. It's only now that I do in the last 4 years. So I think I'm reasonably good at it. I love doing it. I get paid for it, and I think I help people. I help transform people. So that's an amazing thing for me. So when you talk about your BHAG, think about your ikigai. It's a Japanese word. Ken? Thank you, girls. And now I want you to watch a video. Then we can chat if you want.
Growing up in Mississippi, my prayer was, for as long as I can remember, God, use me. Use me, use this life. I don't know what the future holds for me, but I know that there is a vision for my life that is greater than my imagination can hold. Use me, use me. What would you have me to do? And that dream, that desire, that prayer brought me somehow to television.
And she's gonna learn that this life will hit you hard in the face. Wait for you to get back up just so it can kick you in the stomach. But getting the wind knocked out of you is the only way to remind your lungs how much they like the taste of air.
If we want to give all of our children a foundation for their dreams and opportunities worthy of their promise, if we want to give them that sense of limitless possibility, that belief that here in America, there is always something better out there if you're willing to work for it, then we must work like never before.
To those waiting with bated breath for that favorite media catchphrase, the U-turn, I have only one thing to say. U-turn if you want to. The ladies not for turning.
You might never fail on the scale I did, but some failure in life is inevitable. It is impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you fail by default.
Each of us must truly be a woman in the world. We need to be as fearless as the women whose stories you have applauded, as committed as the dissidents and activists you have heard from, as audacious as those who start movements for peace when all seems lost. Together, I do believe it is part of the American mission to ensure that people everywhere, women and men alike, finally have the opportunity to live up to their own God-given potential.
Okay, ladies, we are done.
All right, can I get another round of applause for Deshika? Thank you, Deshika. It has been excellent, wonderful, and amazing. Her leadership style might be maternal, but she kind of surprises, I don't know, me and us all the time. Can I get Gashi, who has been really, really working hard to put this together, give you something as, as a token of thanks from all of us. And can I get a round of applause for Gashi as well, because she has done a lot in getting this together. So girls, thank you so much for all of your time. It's not easy to take time off work. There are pressures, but it's also important that we invest in ourselves. Remember that the world is not looking for females. The world is looking for leaders. Nobody is going to give it to you in a tray saying, you are a female, you are working extra hard. Here, everything on tray. Go enjoy life. That's not going to happen. The world is looking for people who can get the job done and get the job done with a flair. It's for us to prove that it is indeed us who can do it. Prakash Iyer, if you've read the book Habit of Winning, highly recommended. Please read it. Every person, irrespective of men and women, have to read it. Says if you put a tea bag into a teacup, irrespective of whether you put it at the top, at the bottom, at the middle, it makes the tea. So it doesn't matter if you're at the top, at the middle, at the bottom, we make a difference. And that difference has to start here, right? Men are not in competition with us. They're not competing with us. We don't have to compete with them. They are competing with themselves. Learn from that. Because unless and otherwise we unleash ourselves, we will forever be fighting a battle in our head that nobody knows about. So please take whatever you can from what Deshika taught you all today. It's very important that you don't leave it here and go. Otherwise, it's just going to be a session. Practice it. And we will, Hiroshima was also saying, we need to have a support circle. Let's have a support circle and learn and inspire each other. Thank you so much, Deshika, yet again. And thank you for all of you who actively participated, who actively listened. Please make use of these 1.5 hours. Very happy International Women's Day to all of you, to all of us, every day, not just on the day of Women's Day. Thank you again. Thanks a lot.